3, 4.
Yeah, everybody's here except Bill Young.
Okay, I guess we're ready. It's 7:30. Okay, I want to open up.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, May 13th Planning Board meeting. Please all rise and have pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to also take just a minute to honor those who have passed from this horrific virus and to wish we could help the ones who are suffering now, and to also honor our heroes, I believe, of this country, our healthcare workers. Okay, let me go through attendance now. Okay, Tom Warren is here. I see Bruce Bond. Hold on just a second. Okay, here, Bruce Bond, Mike McCory, Mike Mandel, Andy Anders, Steve Sweeney, Robert Dell. Okay, Bill Young is not here yet.
I believe Bill just logged on.
Okay,
It was on.
all right, very good. Okay, so we're all here. Full board. Bruce, you're the alternate, so we have a full board member, so you're not going to be able to vote, but I would like you to stay here because we want your information.
Yep, I intend on, so, okay.
Okay,
Not a problem.
Thank you very much. I'm going to read this statement, and this is for board members, applicants, and for the general public, okay? Planning board members, please wait for the chairman to directly address you by name prior to speaking. This includes attendance and any comments, questions for the applicant. When he is done when he does address you and you are finished speaking, please say either over or I'm finished, Mr. Chairman. For the applicant, please wait for the public hearing notice to be read into the record and any written comments. Then for the chairman to address you prior to speaking. When he does address you and you are finished speaking, again, please say over or I'm finished, Mr. Chairman. For the public, this is a public hearing, therefore you have the right to comment on any and all applications. Please wait for the chairman to address the public, state your name. Please wait for the chairman to address you by name prior to speaking. When he does address you and you are finished speaking, please say either over or I'm finished, Mr. Chairman. Does everybody understand those that criteria? Okay, we're going to go to the first application, which is PB 19-57 West Lewis Avenue Minor Subdivision Plan. Okay, whoever is involved on that, please. I think we have Joseph Thompson and a Dan Stokes. I see Mr. Okay, I see both of them here. Okay, very good. Let me go through and read in the board's comments, the consultant's comments. Office of Building, Zoning, Planning, Administration, Jane Slavin, April 21st. She has 4 comments. I'm not going to read the entire text. I'm just going to read in the number of comments. If any of the planning board members wishes to be specific on a exact comment, please, and when they speak, they at that time can make their comments. So again, Jane Slavin, April 21st, has 4 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, dated March 23rd, has 12, has a number 11 printed twice, so it has 12 comments. Okay, this is the one where I'm concerned, and I think the rest of the board is concerned. Booker Engineering. they have 6 comments. The one that really I'm concerned with, and I think the rest of the board and the town is concerned with, is no information has been provided with respect to mitigation for potential significant impacts with respect to drainage. We therefore recommend that the West Lewis subdivision not be approved for drainage at this time. Okay, let me continue. Town of Orangetown, Bureau of Fire Prevention, dated March 10th. They have no comments. Okay, I have some letters. I'm not going to read the letters in, but I'm going to make note of the letters. The first one is from Michael McHugh, dated. I'm looking for the date. I don't see the date, but it says the town stamped it that they received it on May 12th.
Mr. Chairman, the date's at the top. It was sent May 12th and we received it May 12th via
Okay, yeah,
email.
I'm sorry. I see it now. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. The next letter is from Donna Grepner. Again, it was May 12th, and I believe it was a letter from February 17th. Did not address any commitments. I think in the letter she says May 5th. Okay, now I also just got another letter from a Robert Capello dated May 13th. And I believe that's all I have. Cheryl, is there anything else?
That's correct. There's nothing else.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to address the applicant now. My biggest concern, Mr. Johnson, I believe, no, Thompson, I'm sorry, is drainage. We do not proceed without our consultants on drainage because we don't know if, in fact, what you want to do can be built until we know for a fact that drainage can be mitigated. So I'm going to let the rest of the board members speak, but I'm just speaking now. I think that you may want to, if you feel at the end of this presentation and talk with the rest of the board members, you may want to continue, ask for a continuation until you get the rest of the drainage and whatever else is needed. I know you've done a lot of work on this. A lot of things have been changed. And what I see, is headed in the right direction. I think you just have to go a little bit further. Okay. With that being said, I'm going to open it up to the board members. I'm going to ask Mr. Young if he has any questions or comments. Is he there?
Thank you. I do have concerns with the drainage as you do, and I'm sure the rest of the board members as well. One of the letters did identify that there some work had already been started, some trenches opened. I drove by the site yesterday. I did see some open trenches. Looks like some electrical had been pulled. That is a concern that they're left open like that. I'm also concerned with the 5-foot annexation from the next door neighbor as well. What will that do to the neighbor's property? Will the fence be brought down? There looks to be a shed or two that may have to be moved as well because they'll be close to the perimeter of the yard. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dell. Your microphone's not on.
Okay. I need to know to review this. The plan I have here right now does not have a vicinity map, and it's mostly the plan from Joseph Ferguson Architect, PLC. Is there another plan I'm missing?
I don't know. Cheryl, is there any other plan than the one we have?
Just that plan. And originally with his initial submission, he gave in a surveyor's plan.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, looking at it, there are concerns that I think other people are going to mention. But at this time, I would like to have the right to comment after I hear from the people most affected by this, which be the contiguous property owners and the properties in the neighborhood. Thank you very much for now.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Mr. Sweeney?
Thanks. Yeah, I pretty much don't want to repeat everything that was said, so I agree with what Mr. Young said. Issues with not having drainage and also the letters from the neighbors. So I'm curious to hear what they say during the public portion of this meeting. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Andrews?
I too would like to wait to hear from the public. I have some ideas, depending upon what the public has to say. And the drainage, we need that updated as soon as possible. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Mandel?
A few statements to start right off the bat. Looking at DEME's report from 9/24, and looking at the current report from DEME, certain things that weren't even addressed by the applicant, the need for proposed grading to be shown, how the stormwater runoff in the new impervious area will be handled. Legends had to be added, which were not done. Secondly, if they're going to be taking 5 feet of property from the neighbor to the east, first of all, that shed would be in violation. It'd be less than 5 feet away from the property line, number one. Number two, I'd like to see a new survey showing the neighbor's property to the east of them to see if they are in compliance with all regulations, or are they going to need some sort of zoning, go to the zoning board to get a variance. I think we have to see that totally if they're going to do something like that. We have the neighbors' letters and everything, but those are just a few things that I see at this point, and I'll save later on if people have any comments, and I think this more should be added, then I'll ask the question then. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. Mr. McCory?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last time the applicant was before the board, there was major issues with the approving non-conforming lots. And now we still have an issue with the rear yard of lot number 2. As Jane pointed out in her letter, point number 1, the following variance is required. Rear yard, 25 feet required with 11.4 feet proposed. The RG zoning is the least restrictive in our town. It doesn't ask for much. 25 feet of rear yard is not much to keep the neighbors happy. So I still have a big problem with that, the lot line for that lot number 2. And there's a lot of concerns, but that's the only one I wanted to point out. I'm finished, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. McCory. Mr. Bond?
Okay, the variance for the rear yard, basically they could build this house without that variance because they could cut that back section of the house off, make it 2 feet deeper, and they could make it a little wider, and they wouldn't have to even get a variance. So that would be something I would, think they should consider doing. With getting the 5,000 square feet from the neighbor, that eliminates the undersized lots. So if they take care of this one, they don't even need a variance. They don't even have to go to the ZBA. It would as long as they get drainage, it'll be approved. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it from what I can see. So
Okay.
That's
Is
it.
that what we have?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Thompson, I think you've heard all of the board members' concerns and questions. I think you should take these all in advisement. Like I said, being that you don't have drainage, we are not going to vote on it tonight. I think there are a lot of things that you have to consider. I think maybe what Mr. Bond was talking about, might work for you. I don't know. I mean, that's strictly up to you and the owners of the property. You would have to make that decision. At this point, if you want to, I think the board is not going to do anything. So are you going to be asking for a continuation?
Hey, Tom, I have a question.
Okay, sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Hold on, Mr. Thompson. Go ahead, Bruce.
I just had a question for Jane in terms of the annexation of the 5 feet from the other. So they have to go, that guy has to come before the board because they have to do a lot line change. And then we have to merge it to this lot.
Yeah, it can all be done under one application, but I can let Cheryl chime in on that one.
Yeah, it definitely can be. It could be requests to just move lot lines. It could be one action for re-subdivision.
Okay. All right, but he still has to do that, correct?
Well, yeah, the other property owner has to be part of the application.
Okay. All right, thank you. So that would be another reason that he would have to ask for the continuance, I would assume.
Yes, and the
Because we can't approve.
Hold on just a second. Bruce, are you done?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, you've kind of heard what everybody has said and what Jane Slavin has suggested. I don't know if this is the direction you want to go, but I think you may really want to consider it. Because like I said, without drainage, we're not going to proceed with it.
That's understood.
I don't hear you. Yeah, you're right.
If
Go
I could
ahead.
just speak for 2 minutes, I can clear up a lot of the concerns and the intent of our meeting tonight, at least from our perspective as the applicant.
I didn't hear that because you're kind of garbled.
Can anybody hear me clearly now?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We're here again. We presented this plan to the planning board several months back, as well as zoning board, and in its revised variation, what the board we're seeking to do is annex some land from a supporting neighbor to resolve what's been the primary issue of concern date, which is the lot area. With that, the only variance that we'd be seeking is a rear yard at this point, which is a significant improvement from earlier versions of the application that were reviewed with the board and the design review committee. The issue of drainage, we had previously submitted a statement from our civil engineer. He has been to the site, has dug percolation tests, has evaluated our plan and the property, and sees no obstructions to designing a Coltech type rain garden system that will allow any of the modest drainage from a single family residence to be totally contained on site. So we don't expect a runoff from this new development. The reason why before the board without this information, and there are a lot of engineering comments, is there's a significant investment involved with the engineering in this property. And what we're hopeful of is not to make any type of determination or a vote for approval this evening, but just to seek to be referred to zone as we were last time this application came forward, to see if we can procure the rear yard variance. And if we can, at that point, then we would invest the efforts into further engineering and designing plan. Point we'd prefer to hold back and take this one step at a time. So I know this is our submission, lot boundaries, the bulk right. We also certainly provide the neighboring lot. We can provide it if that's something that's helpful to the board too. We're happy with all of that. But again, we're asking to, I believe, be referred to the board to try to pursue that variance. And then if that's successful, next steps from there.
Okay, I don't know if it's my computer or what, but you're not speaking yet. Your voice is still coming through, and half of what you were saying before was kind of blurred. I didn't hear it. Jane, did you hear any of what this gentleman was asking?
Mr. Chairman, you are correct. It is garbled, but my understanding, and he can correct me.
I'm having a problem hearing you too.
me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the applicant wanted to get a feel from the board if the revisions to the original proposal seemed more acceptable. I don't know that the applicant understands that the board will not move forward with any type of determination without having drainage approval and meeting all the comments of the various agencies and providing a plan submission per the site plan development checklist that is available within our code. I think that they're not understanding that the drawing as presented is not something that the board would make a determination on. There's not enough information for you to do that.
Okay, Mr. Thompson, do you understand that? Okay, I don't hear him at all right now.
We do,
Yeah, Mr.
and that's what I was indicating, is that we're not seeing approve this plan. But so last time we present planning board, just a referral to the ZB.
Okay, they won't give you the referral to the ZBA unless you have preliminary.
And you're not going to get preliminary until you get drainage, because you submitted a plan to us that you want to do. Your plan, according to our drainage engineer, will not work. He has made some suggestions for you to correct your plan to meet his criteria, the town's criteria, where the drainage will work. Until you get that from our hydraulic engineer, we cannot go further on this plan. We cannot give you a referral. We cannot give you any kind of recommendation, because you may have to change your plan to meet what our engineers want.
And Tom, also they have to address the, that lot line change too in the.
Yeah, well, right now we're working on
That's
drainage.
just to be honest, Mr. Chairman, because the last time we presented the planning board, it was referred to.
I got nothing right now.
It just strikes me odd as that would be contrary to the action the board took last time we presented, when we were referred to zoning board, as before zoning boards months ago.
Mr. Thompson, if I may, wasn't
to review process again with the information we had.
your
So if that's what it has to be, that's what it has to be.
when you're speaking, it's extremely delayed. It's a good 15 or 20-second delay. So and it's broken up. The previous application, the board did allow you to go to the ZBA. Okay, there is a provision in our code. However, as you experienced in going to the ZBA, they did not want to make a determination. So going that route again is going to end up in the same result.
I think the issue time with the ZBA was that they weren't open to approving the area variance, but not necessarily the rear yard. But if that's the direction we have to head, then that's what it is.
Again, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to understand you. I don't know if you can call in instead of on the computer. It's very difficult to understand you at this time. You're very delayed. I don't know if your reception's bad in your area.
Sure.
But the rear yard is an area variance. So I believe you would end up with the same result. All this is doing is stretching time out. In order for the board to move forward, they need these items addressed. They need a full site plan. They need the adjacent neighboring properties shown. As Cheryl explained, they need to be part of the application process.
Right, and Jane, if he eliminates the need for that variance, then he wouldn't even have to go to the ZBA. That's my point.
That is correct at this point. Yeah. However, the point was brought up, the other adjacent property where he is annexing the 5 feet might create a variance on that property.
Oh,
that's
correct.
why a full site plan.
You don't know about that, correct? But conceivably, he could not have to go if that meets the criteria, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
Mike Mandel.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and unless he's going to come up with a full plan, as Director Slavin said, and we have the survey for the property where they're going to move the lot line on to see if there's any variances going to be created by what they're moving, and they haven't answered any of the things that DEME has asked them. They don't have a drainage report or anything else at this time. I don't think, unless without the required information, we couldn't even make a realistic evaluation as to whether the lot is buildable. Plus we also have to, will it negatively affect or impact the neighbors? Without the information, we can't do that. And I think at this point in time, it's a moot point for them to even, unless they come back with everything, to proceed at this point. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mandel. This is what we've been trying to explain to this gentleman, and for some reason, we're having a problem communicating back and forth.
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Yes,
Young
ma'am.
would like to speak. Mr. Young would like to speak as well.
Go ahead, Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Slavin. To Bruce Bond's point about doing the lot line change, is that a paper thing, or will the physical relocation of the fencing have to be incorporated into that? That was my question. And I don't know if Bruce is trying to get there as well. So is the lot line change just a paper thing, or does something physical have to be done as well?
Something physical will have to be done if, by proposing to move the lot line, creates any of variance issues. The shed, the fence, any of those items will have to be addressed. It can be addressed as part of that application. And once the application is approved and the stamped plan, then those items would have to be done in order to obtain the CO.
Not only by the applicant, but also the abutting neighbor.
That's correct. They'd have to be part of the application process, and everything would have to be agreed to.
Thank you, Mr. Slavin.
Thank you very much. Mr. Thompson, are you, I don't know if he's listening anymore. I don't know what to do at this point. I mean, he's not addressing the board. Because I think we're not going to do anything.
Well, he
so
needs to ask for
he's gonna have
continuance, basically. He needs to ask for continuance. That's the only choice, really.
And
Mr.
but I don't know if
Chairman?
he's going to ask for one.
The applicant is on, Mr. Stokes is on, if he would like to address the board.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't understand what the big deal is. One of the neighbors said that I was already starting on the house. I'm just trying to fix up the house to move my family into that house, the current house right now. So just wanted to address that. I don't see what the big deal is about all this. I'm just trying to better the neighborhood, and if I need to come back with that stuff on drainage, I'll come back with that stuff on drainage. So, and that's that.
Okay, because that's what we're asking for. That you go.
Okay, that's not a problem. I'll get all that stuff and I'll be back.
From Mr. Thompson, for him to take all the comments that we've made tonight from all the associated boards and to resolve them, to figure out what has to be done to correct all these issues. And one of them is drainage. They have to go back to Booker Engineering for drainage and to satisfy all of their concerns, which I believe Booker Engineering had 6 concerns. So you're going to have to resolve those before we can move anywhere with this, before we can move forward.
Mr. Stokes, these are all standard
Okay, no problem.
requirements of a subdivision application and approval. So if at this point, what the chairman's recommending is that you formally request a continuance and then address the issues and come back to the board.
Okay, and that's what we'll do. We'll continue this and I'll come back with those items.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. Okay. Next item on the agenda is PB 1964, 27 Greenbush Road site plan. Mr. Brenner?
Mute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, fine. This site is the partially constructed structure, which actually got a planning board approval way back in 1992. My client is attempting to finish the building. He's hired a structural engineer that found the structure is sound, and he's going to make certain repairs, which will do it. We have obtained an approval from the drainage consultant in terms of what he has in mind for some drainage work will be satisfactory. And furthermore, he's going to use it as his garage. It's going to be his principal business. So therefore, the comments that were made as for a use variance are no longer needed because this is a use that is permitted. So primarily, would like to proceed with the finishing off of the building. It's been an unsightly thing for many, many years, and I think would be very favorable to the neighborhood and also to my client.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to read in the consultant's reports. Jane Slavin, April 21st, 2020. She has 5 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, March 23rd, 2020. They have 14 comments. Brooker Engineering, March 7th. They have 14 comments. Also, the applicant has added an area of stormwater management which can provide mitigation for potentially significant impacts with respect to drainage. We therefore recommend that 27 Green Street Road site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above 7 comments, again, of which there are 14. Department of Planning, Rockland County Department of Planning, March 18. She has 15 items, but the biggest thing that I can see is that they have a disapproved. It says the County of Rockland Department of Planning has reviewed the above item, acting under the terms of the GML powers and those vested by the County of Rockland Chapter 1 of the Commissioners of Planning hereby disapproves. And they have 14 reasons. Jane, is there anything we can do on this? I don't
There's
know.
15, yeah, Mr. Chairman, there's actually 15 comments.
Yes.
Perhaps we should go through them all and let Mr. Brenner address the items.
Okay, I shall do that. Number 1, it does not appear that the contractor's storage is a permit use in the CC zoning district. It must be clarified if this is in fact a permitted use. If the use is permitted, the town must confirm that the use group JJ applies to this proposal and that the 1992 approval still applies. If the contractor's storage is not a permitted use, this application must not be approved, and a use variance must be sought. In order to be granted a use variance, an applicant must prove unnecessary hardship in order for the use variance to be granted. In order to prove such unnecessary hardship, the applicant shall demonstrate to the Board of Appeals that for each and every permitted use under the zoning regulation for the particular district where the property is located, A, the applicant cannot realize a reasonable return provided the lack of return is substantial as shown by competent financial evidence. B, the alleged hardship is unique and does not apply to the substantial portion of the district or neighborhood. C, the alleged variance will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. D, the alleged hardship is not self-inflicted. Number 2.
Yes. I think the point involved here, that was originally the application was put in where the client was going to build a building and rent it out to other users. That was what was being stated here. That is not permitted under the code. What he's doing to use it, he's going to use it for his own garage. That is permitted. He has a business. It's an ancillary business. He has an ancillary right to use the building as a garage. So we really don't need a use variance because we're not taking that approach. We're not renting it out to different individuals. So that whole disapproval concept is not there because he's not going to be renting it out to other people.
Okay. Is that, Jane, is that the only one you want me to read, or you want me to go through everything?
Yes, I think that was the big concern. Mr. Brenner, do you feel that you can address all the other items?
Pretty much so. We just have to do it in terms of what we have to do for the site plan approval, and we'll have to get approval from the drainage agency. We'll have to get approval from Bruce. So that's pretty much what we have to do.
Yes, the clarification on the use was the biggest item, which is actually one of my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, that was your comment number one, right? And that has changed.
Okay, so that's going to stay until you prove that you can get the variance or you don't need the variance, one or the other.
No, we don't need a use variance because we're not taking that approach. We're going to use it as a garage for his business, which is an accessory use, which he's permitted to do under the code.
Yeah,
But the
Mr.
county-
Brenner submitted a letter, I believe it was yesterday afternoon, clarifying that.
Yes. I did submit that letter saying that we changed the application so that this would be a garage for his use.
Yes, I have that letter, which will be read in. Okay. So what you're going to have to do in respect to item number one is you're going to have to get something from the county saying that they feel that you have done, that you have corrected that situation.
Well, we're not taking that approach. I think the county has to say has to approve what's in the Orangetown code. Or what the county said there was that was a CC code, and if he was going to rent it out, it would have to be an LI zone. So therefore, by changing it as an accessory use for his use, it is permitted in the CC.
Right. But you're still going to,
I will write that to the county. I think they didn't realize that change was made.
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So you're going to have to get something from the county stating that you have in fact corrected number one.
Well, that's okay. Yes, we will do that. And Rick, I'll send them a letter and I'll send you a copy of it so that it'll be there in the file.
Okay, thank you. And you said that you should be able to satisfy the rest of the 15 comments.
We'll have to.
Okay, thank you.
But
Okay,
remember, they disapproved it only on 1 and 2. If you take a look at their letter, and which is pretty much on the use variance concept.
okay,
The
I'll
other
read
things are just recommendations.
okay, I'll read number 2 in. A parking calculation based on the application's district standards must be provided to ensure for attic parking can be achieved.
Yeah, and based on that, since there's garage, we can meet that requirement.
Okay, fine, thank you. Okay, Rockland County Health, March 16th. They have one. Town of Orangetown Bureau of Fire Prevention, March 10th. They have 9 items. That's all I have. Cheryl, do you have anything else? Oh, yeah, I take it back. I have one more letter. Mr. Brenner sent a letter today, dated March 13th. Dear Mrs. Coopersmith, this letter is to inform the planning board that my client, who owns 27 Greenbush Road in the hamlet of Orangeburg, will be using the existing partially finished structure for his storage of material and equipment. He will maintain an office there, and our zoning code will permit this accessory use. Okay, and this is, required information additional. Okay, thank you, Donald.
And we also have drainage approval from Brooker.
Yes, I read that in.
Oh, okay.
He had 14 comments. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the board. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Other than the glaring letter from the county, regarding the use of the property. McIntyre, is this for the Edge Landscape and Construction business?
Yes.
It is, okay. I did drive by yesterday. I did see the site. I honestly think that it would be a good facility for such, assuming Mr. Brenner can get past these issues with the county. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Young. Mr. Dell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with some of the concerns from the county. I would like to see a little more resolution before I feel comfortable moving this forward. Obviously, finishing the structure will be a good thing. And we obviously need more commercial tenants. However, I think these clarifications need to be done. I also wish to reserve the right to make further comments if the other board members speak, and also to any input from the public. But at this time, that's the extent of my comments, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dell. Mr. Sweeney.
Thank you. Just to clarify, I know it was said, but I just want to make sure I got everything right. So about the use again. So Jane's comment, number one, said that, you know, when it was considered contractor storage, that would not be able to be done in the zoning district. And then the county kind of followed up the same thing. And the reason they disapproved was they felt similarly, whatever the original use was listed didn't conform with the code. So just now that, you know, Mr. Brenner is saying that it's not going to be used for, I guess, contractor storage anymore. It's going to be used for the vehicles, and that he's saying that is approved. Is that true? Is that is the use he's stating now? Does that conform with the zoning that we have currently on this property?
Yeah, it does. In other words, what had happened in the application, the client originally was going to partition it off and rent it out to 4 different contractors for their use. He's no longer doing that. He's specifically going to use it for his own use, which is an accessory to his existing operation, and that is permitted in the code. If you look at
Yeah, I asked because, you know, they didn't refer to renting or anything in their comment. They just said it wasn't a use. So I'm just asking, you know, I don't know if it's Jane or if it's, you know, someone else to just kind of say, to confirm what you're saying is true, that the use you're stating is actually allowed under this code, this zone.
The applicants originally submitted a project summary actually stating contractor storage yard and the intention to sublease the spaces out to contractors. So that's why the comments are in both my letter and the planning board, the county planning board letter. Mr. Brenner has clarified that Edge Landscaping, which is the business, will have an office in that building, and that will be a garage for their business. So it's a business operation, as long as, you know, he wouldn't be renting it out to contractors to store their stuff there. It would be to support his own business.
And that's an allowable use.
Yes, a business is an allowable use.
Okay, that's all. That's my only question. Thank you very much. I'm finished.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Andrews. Your microphone's off.
Yeah, I was down there today. I took a look at the property. My concern is that it's pretty messy down there. Hopefully that as they go forward, that they clean up a lot of the stuff down there and make it more presentable. Being a landscaper, it didn't look like it was a landscaper's piece of property. The other question I have, I noticed in the narrative summary, it says vehicle access ramps into the building. Can somebody tell me what a vehicle access ramp is into the building? I mean, how does that work?
Wait, maybe I could help. Is the engineer here?
Yep, I'm here, Don.
You want to explain that?
Well, there's big overhead garage doors that are proposed, and it would just allow someone to pull from the parking lot into the building to store vehicles.
Sir, can you just introduce yourself by name for the record?
Sure, I'm Michael Calisi. I'm the engineer.
So It's a way of getting into the building. There's a grade problem there. There's a way of getting into the building.
Yeah, there's gonna, to meet the 1 foot above the floodplain, you're gonna have a pitch, so you have to put a ramp in order to get from the parking lot to the floor elevation of the building.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Mr. Mandel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions. Regarding the Fire Bureau's statement, 310, it said none of the comments have been addressed so far. Can we explain why you haven't spoken to them about addressing the comments that they made?
Pardon me,
Excuse me, Don. It's Mike Calisi again.
Okay.
These comments, other than the administrative ones, they would be included on the plan submitted for building permit, such as the fire hydrant locations, fire
this is-
extinguisher locations and stuff of in that nature.
It's his March 10th report. It's from Michael Bettman. There's 9 items. Everything from provide the NFPA 7212 fire alarm system with direct connection, Rockland County 44 control, to the last one, which is where what will be stored in the building, equipment, trucks, has materials. All these things have to be answered. I don't know if you haven't spoken to them yet, but right at the top of the page, Bettman writes in capital letters, bold, none of our comments have from October 2019 have been addressed. I think that's something that has to be addressed before anything is finalized. Might have to be addressed so far.
Of course, they'll be addressed prior to the next time we submit anything.
All right. Also, another question, landscaping. Back in the last meeting, we asked for a landscaping plan. Rockland County had asked for it. Rockland County again asked for it. DEME in comment number 5 also asked for the landscaping plan, because the landscaping as far as DEME goes, I think has to do with improvements on the flood zone, and it's marked X on your map. So when you do come back, I'd like to see definitely a landscaping and a lighting plan is required.
Well, the landscaping has been done. I just didn't have the opportunity to submit it for the meeting previously. That will include the lighting as well. The DME comments, they'll all be addressed. There is a net reduction of about 22% of the pavement, 25% of the pavement from the original application due to the change in the building's use. So all that'll be addressed in the DME and the landscaping requests.
And I asked that because I was there today. I was there previously on another occasion, but I didn't see much in the area of landscape. So I definitely want to see the plan. And have you applied for the Rockland County Drainage Agency permit yet?
No, not as of yet.
We didn't put the permit in first. We have spoken to the Rockland County Drainage Agency, and we have worked out a plan which they will find acceptable.
Thank you.
That's usually done. That's usually done after the zoning board approves what they have to approve. Then we file the formal report or application.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McCory.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had the same questions Mr. Sweeney had about what considered contractor storage versus storage of materials and equipment. I think you cleared that up. It's I guess one contractor, what he keeps on the premises as opposed to several contractors, which is saying is allowed. Also on Mr. Brenner's letter, he talks about an office that will be there. Is that office on the blueprint plans that we have?
The structural layout, if I remember correctly, the structural layout showed an office in the one of the sections of the garage.
Yeah, I believe it's in the northmost bay. There's an office done.
Is that was on the plans we got?
I know it's plans that we put in with the building department. There was a mezzanine put in there for an office space, and it would be an accessory to his use.
All
And
right.
he's right next door, and that's what he's doing.
Yeah, all right. I just don't think we have the interior plans on our, on the set that we got. But,
They're typically not submitted to the planning board, the interior layouts.
all right, I just wasn't sure if there was, the office that they spoke about is, part of our plans.
I
Second,
believe there, you can
Yeah,
always
Jane.
make it a condition.
all right. And also the second, I noted too that the fire prevention number 5 talks about aerial fire apparatus access is required to be 26 feet wide at a minimum. You have, it looks like the access road on the plan is 20 feet wide. Do you plan on addressing that with the fire prevention number 5 comment?
Right now, the access map mirrored the access of the previously approved site plan, but we'll address it with the fire bureau's comments, of course.
All right, thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Mr. Bond?
I'm just happy they're doing something with this property after 25 plus years. It's been an eyesore to that area for a long, long time. And I know it's been in here before for a couple of different applications over the years that I believe got approved, but never happened. So I'm just hoping that this is going to happen. So that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to open up to the public. Are there anybody in the public that wishes to make comment on this? I'm going to ask one more time. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to make comment on this? Okay, hearing none. Can I ask for a motion to close the public session?
Motion to close public session, Michael Mandel.
Mike Mandel makes a motion.
Second, Andy Andrews.
Andy Andrews, seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. Okay. We did that. Okay, Mr. Bond can't vote. I believe that if the board feels in this way, that they're on the right track to get this done. And I think we can go ahead and give them pre-preliminary if everybody is in favor on that. And if that's the case, I'd like to have somebody make a motion for lead agent.
Motion for lead agent Mandel.
Mr. Sweeney makes a motion for lead agent.
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
be clear, they're asking for pre-preliminary and preliminary.
Preliminary.
what is the
Yeah,
board?
so you
Okay.
only
You're giving
mentioned
them
pre-preliminary, so
preliminary.
I already mentioned pre-preliminary. Let me go around and ask the board and see what their feeling is. Mr. Young?
I'm good with preliminary.
Okay. Mr. Young wants preliminary. Okay, Mr. Dell?
I would prefer pre-preliminary at this time until some of these questions are answered.
Okay, it's 1 and 1. Mr. Sweeney?
I'm good for preliminary.
Okay, preliminary. 2, 1. Mr. Andrews?
Good for preliminary.
Okay, 3. Mr. Mandel?
Pre-preliminary.
Pre-preliminary, 2. Mr. McCory?
They have a lot of things to clear up. I'm good with preliminary.
Okay, preliminary. And I vote for preliminary. So it's 5 for preliminary and 2 for pre-preliminary. Okay, so let me have, who's gonna, a motion for preliminary?
Young.
Cardo Seca.
Yeah, we only
Excuse
did
me?
neg deck.
Yeah, we are.
We didn't
Motion
vote
for
on,
lead
we
agent.
didn't vote on lead agency yet.
Okay, Mr. Sweeney did that. Well, I have a second for lead agent.
Second, Mandel.
Mandel, second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
None, carried. Okay. Okay, motion for neg deck.
Young.
Who?
Young.
Oh, Young, I'm sorry, Bill. Motion for neg deck. Do I have a second?
McCrory, second.
Corey, second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. Okay, neg deck.
So I make a motion for preliminary with conditions. Sweeney.
Okay, Mr. Sweeney makes a motion for preliminary with condition.
I'll second it with
He can't second
conditions.
it.
Okay, I gotta go through the conditions first.
Okay.
Jane Slavin, April 21st letter. She has 5 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, March 23rd, has 14. Booker Engineering, March 7th, has 15. Rockland County Planning, March 18th. Mr. Brenner is going to straighten out that number 1 in respect to the variance change. And if he gets that, then there should be no problem. He said he can satisfy the rest of the 15 items on it. Rockland County Health, March 16th, has 1. Town of Orangetown Fire Prevention, March 10th, has 9. And that is it. Sharon, is there anything else that I missed? No, I don't see her. So can I
I'm sorry,
have?
didn't Mr. McCrory, Mr. Chairman, didn't Mr. McCrory ask
yeah.
for the internal of the building to be shown?
I hear some noise. I don't know who's coming from.
So,
Yeah.
didn't Mr. McCrory ask for the internal of the building to be included?
You gargled. I really can't hear you.
Mr. Young is asking, he said, didn't Mr. McCrory ask for the internal plan for the building to be included as a condition?
Okay, I think that we're going to see that on the next step. We will see all that with the landscaping
You
plan.
can make it a condition, though.
All right, make it a condition, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Okay.
When you come back again, I'd like to have the interior layout with the office.
Good.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
I think you have to override Rockland County Planning because they disapproved. So Jane, what do you think?
Or do we just override that number 1 item? Item number 1.
But actually, it'd have to be number 2 also.
Okay, numbers 1 and 2.
Okay.
I'm checking with Jane and our legal department.
Yeah, I would check with legal on that one. I'm not sure at preliminary if you would need to, as long as they work it out. They have testified.
Yeah, I think Mr. Brenner said that he was going to resolve it with planning. If we were at final, you would have to override it, but this time, I think it's a condition that Mr. Brenner resolve it, and if he doesn't, they won't get final.
Okay.
Or at that point, he can ask us to override it if he comes back for final.
And when he comes back for final, we should get from planning, county planning, that should be eliminated. It shouldn't be one of the conditions. So that should resolve it right then and there.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, do I have a second on that?
I second it.
Who's
Andrews.
that?
Andrews, second.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Opposed? None. You're set, Mr. Brenner.
Thank you.
Okay, next one is PB 20-14, Sorcy, Asuma, Shaky Funeral Home Site Plan. Mr. Brenner.
Okay, I believe everybody's familiar with the Source, Asuma, Shanky Funeral Home. It's been in Peru for many, many years. My client, Mr. Source, purchased the funeral home. In doing it, he found that he needed a little small area to, I wouldn't say streamline, but it's a good word. the layout of his operation. There's a very small increase. It is at best 262 square feet, of which he's rounding out a section of the building which is on pavement. He would like to do that. I hate to say it, at a time like this, funeral areas are needed for operation. And we're really here to move this one along. It's been around. He does need the area. Pretty much, it's honest to goodness, it's just a closet increase. Really what he's doing, he's boxing out an area, if you take a look at the drawing.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Okay, let me read the consultants' reports. Jane Slavin, March 6th. Question, Jane, you have PB 20-14. I think it's 15, because Bruce Peters says it's PB 20-15. So we kind of have to get together.
Okay, the notices that Cheryl typed up say PB-14, 20-14. I'm looking at it,
Yes.
so.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
okay. So we'll go with.
I think that's just a typo on Mr. Peters' part. We can make sure.
The original sheet that Cheryl sent out, it said was 15. Okay, no problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
but projects got changed around, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to check, just to make sure that there wasn't a clerical matter there, which I know you would never make, so there's no problem. Okay, Jane Slavin, May 8th. She has 9 items. Okay. Department of Environmental Management, Bruce Peters has 1.
That's shocking.
Excuse me?
That's shocking.
Yeah, I know. Rockland County Department of Planning, March 16, has 6. Center for Environmental Health, Rockland County Health has 1. Rockland County Highway has 3. Rockland County Sewer has 2. We have a letter from Donald Brenner to Cheryl Cooper Smith. Enclosed, please find a letter from St. Margaret's of an Associated Church regarding Sorcy, Asumni, and Shanky Funeral Home, 34 North Summit Street, Pearl River, New York. And that letter, which is dated 22nd of August, 2019, to whom it may concern, the parish of St. Margaret's Antici of 33 North Magnolia Street, Pearl River, New York, and the Sorcy, Asumni, Shanky Funeral Home have an agreement with the parish that would provide off-street parking facilities at our parking lot on the southeast corner of Summit and Washington Avenue on a as-needed basis. Signed, Reverend Eric Rasser. And then I have lead agent from Rockland County Health, Orangetown ZBA, Rockland County Planning, Rockland County Highway. Okay. Cheryl, is there anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Mr. Young, questions or comments?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Dell? Mr.
No
Dell.
comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sweeney?
No comments at this time.
Thank you very much. Mr. Andrews?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mandel?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. McCory?
I have no comments for this project.
Okay, Mr. Bond?
No, it's been there a long time. I don't have any issues with it. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public. Is there any of the public that wishes to make questions or comments on this? Okay, one more time, I'm going to ask it. Does anybody in the public wish to make any questions or comments on this? Okay, hearing none, I ask for a motion to close the public.
Motion to close public
Okay,
portion.
go ahead, Mr. Brenner.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we have to go to the zoning board to substantiate, or not confirm the variances that are there. In other words, it's, as you well know, it doesn't meet any part of the code because it's in an RG zone. It's been there for many, many years. And we also have to go to ACA board because of the design. I am making a request that we don't have to come back to the planning board for final, because this has to be built and it's needed.
Okay, I think all the board members heard that. We'll discuss that. Okay, again, okay, I need a motion to close the public. Do I have that motion from anyone?
Motion to close public portion.
Mr. Mandel, do I have a second? Mr. Young?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
right now there's a canopy over the front walk, and a good portion of it is in the right of way. It's not actually on the property of the funeral home. So I don't know that you can give final if they don't obtain approval to have a structure in the right of way.
If we cannot get a approval from the highway department as to that, structure will have to come down.
Can we make that a condition?
Well, if we don't get approval, it has to come down unless the zoning board gives us a variance, one or the other.
The zoning board wouldn't be able to give you the variance for,
Right, the highway department will have to give us approval. The highway, make that a condition.
right, the highway department can grant approval with an agreement in place. And Mr. Picola can fill you in on that. If they approve that and the agreement is in place, then the site plan can have approval. I just don't know if we can do it ahead of obtaining that approval. That's a legal issue.
Hold on just a second. Mr. Dell, could you do me a favor? Shut your mic off because there's background noise coming in. I don't know where it's coming from. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say you could condition on one of two things happening. The highway department granting a license, which I think is what Mr. Brenner would have to seek. So either they get a license from the highway department to have the canopy in the town right of way, or else they take the canopy down. So you can
Right.
approve it that way.
So we can make that a condition that if they get it, it stays. If they don't get it, it comes down.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, I also want to add that he would have to obtain that approval before going to the zoning board.
Okay.
We make that a condition.
Because, well, yeah, right, because then if he gains that, either way, he has a 0 front yard setback to the canopy,
Okay,
the
I'll
property line.
try to get it from Mr. Dean right away.
Well, it really, does it make a difference whether they get it before or after zoning? Well, yeah, they have to. Okay, never mind. Before, canopy before CBA.
Well, the canopy wouldn't necessarily have to come down. It would just have to be cut back, right?
No, they have to, well, cut back to the
I
property
mean, the
line.
right of way what's the right of way? 3 feet, 4 or 5 feet? And it's not that big, right? I
Two
mean, the
separate
canopy comes
issues.
all the way from the building, doesn't it?
Right,
From
so
the front of the
they have a
building.
0, they have a 0 front yard setback to the canopy.
Okay, so
That's a significant variance for both variants.
Okay, so make it a condition
But
that
the
he,
highway portion of it is only like, that can't be very wide, right? What does that have to do with the highway department? I mean, when it goes out to the street, that would be the only way the highway department would come into effect. Whatever the right of way is on that street, whether it be 3 feet, 6 feet, whatever. The other would just be a variance that would have to get.
Mr. Bond,
If you look at the drawing, there's a small section of the canopy that's in the town right away, and that's where we're gonna have to get permission.
Right. So so
15
worst
feet.
case, that would have to be,
It's 15 feet of canopy in the town right away right now.
Right.
the town right away is
It's almost
15 feet there on that street?
Now, the canopy goes past the property line by 15 feet into the road, into the town right away. It's over the property line.
Okay.
Canopy itself is 40 feet long. The front yard setback to the building is 24 feet. 24 point something. I'm scaling off a drawing, but. So there's two things.
Okay, so they would have to cut.
They either would have to cut it back and then eliminate the need for an agreement with highway department. But either way, they have a 0-foot front yard variance that they need to obtain.
Correct.
Mhm.
So I'm sure the ZBA will question approving the canopy as proposed without that agreement in place.
Okay, we'll speak to the highway department and we'll work it out.
So we'll just make it a condition that he has to get the permit from the highway department before he goes to ZBA for the variance or whatever he needs it.
Or we take it down, yeah.
Or you take it down, correct? Okay. Canopy or ZBA before. Oh. Canopy from town. Before. Okay, okay, so I'm gonna proceed on this. I'm gonna.
So can I make a motion for lead agency, Sweeney?
Yes, I was just coming to that. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Mandel.
Mr. Mandel has a second. Okay, all in favor? Aye, opposed?
Aye.
Okay, everybody agrees. Okay, motion for neg deck?
Motion.
Nobody? Okay, Mr. Mandel? Mr. Mandel, motion. Do I have a second? Mr.
I'll
Young?
second it.
Mr. Young, okay. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Done, okay. I motion for final with conditions. Who makes the
Motion
motion?
for final with conditions.
Okay, Mandel makes the motion. Okay, and the conditions are, number one, that the applicant has to obtain from the town highway department a permit, a use, or a variance for the canopy before he goes to ZBA. Is that okay, the way I said it, Mr. Slavin?
I would say the legal terminology would be license. You're not allowed to build on someone else's property. They put a structure on town property, on the town right of way. A license would allow them to do that. A part of that license will be some type of immunity agreement that they will pay for any lawsuit so no one can sue the town because it's on town property. We need to protect ourselves. Mr. Brenner, I think Stefan Muno is the person that has typically handled these in the past. I have worked with him, so touch bases with Mr. Muno and I will assist with it. But I would say that the correct word is they obtain a license to allow the construction on the town right of way.
Before they go to ZBA?
Yes.
Before we have a hearing at the ZBA, that's correct.
Correct. Okay, Cheryl, you have that?
Yes, I have everything.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll continue. Okay, Jane Slavin, May 8th, 9 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, dated March 23rd, has 1. Rockland County Planning, dated March 16th, has 6. Rockland County Health, dated March 16th, has 1. Rockland County Highway, March 9th, has 3. Rockland County Sewer, March 19th, has 2. And I'm going to put it in again, mention the letter from St. Margaret's pertaining to the agreement of off-street parking. Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Mr. Sweeney. Okay, Mr. Sweeney, seconds. All in favor? Aye, opposed? None. Okay. You're all set, Mr. Brenner?
You still got me.
Okay. Next one. That's fine. Next one is I lost my little piece of paper. Okay, it's
Instrumental.
20-15, instrumental laboratory site plan. Yeah, 16. No, it's 15. Whatever. Laboratory site plan. Mr. Brenner.
Okay, here we go. This building permit was originally filed on May 2019. We got planning board approval on July 22, 2019. We got zoning board approval on November 6, 2019. We got ACABOR approval on February 6, 2020. We are here primarily for final. We have with us the senior plant engineer and the engineer and who can answer any of the technical questions that will come up.
Okay, thank you. Let me read the comments in. Jane Slavin, May 8th, 5. Department of Environmental Engineering and Management, Bruce Peters, April 7th has 1. He has an addition, that's April 7th. He has another letter, April 3rd, which has 12. Department of Planning, March 20th, 8. The Highway Department, March 13th, has 1. New York State Department of Transportation, December 20th, 2019, they have 3. And that's all. Cheryl, is there anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Would the board want the engineers to give you some kind of a briefing as to the comments before they present their questions?
I need your permission to help.
Wait a minute. I don't know where the heck that came from. Got it now, got it later. Okay. Somebody got a hold of my computer and I got nothing. This is all messed up.
I can learn to understand you
we
much
can
better
see
if
and
I
hear
get
you.
familiar with the way you talk. I need your permission to help.
What was that?
I got this thing comes up here and it says, I can understand you if you let me know, recognize your voice, and I can't get anything. I say maybe letter, and I say got it, and it comes back. Hi, how are you? Can I help you? How the heck do I get rid of this? Hey, my computer's broken.
Uh-oh.
Look on the bottom and try to click back on your browser.
What the
If you're using Google or using Explorer, try to get back on your browser. You're on the wrong screen.
Let me go back to here. All right, I got it.
Look on the very bottom.
My little finger did some walking. It wasn't supposed to walk.
Tom, there was also a traffic study submitted with the paperwork dated February 14th, 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. And there was how can I miss this? Traffic impact study, February 14th, signed by John Collier.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Would Mr. Vlasic like to put a word in there as to the urgency of trying to move this project because we have a construction problem. You on,
Yes, I'm on. This is Randy Vlasic, Instrumentation Laboratory. Good evening, everybody. The urgency really concerns the weather. We'd like to get the parking portion, additional parking portion of the renovation done before we get too far into the fall, so that once that's done, we can still have time towards the end of this year in order to do the foundation for the renovation. So the urgency is really around trying to get things in before the weather turns too cold.
Okay, let me open it up to the board members and get their questions and comments. Mr. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only comment I have is regarding Ms. Slavin's number 2. Are we going to consider the recommendation from the New York State DOT, making it a right in from the in from 303 and a right going out?
okay.
If I may comment on that?
Well, let me start it. We hired John Collins to do the study, and I think the engineer will explain to him that that would be more dangerous to do than what we have right now. You want to have one of the engineers pick that up?
Yeah, Randy Vlasic again. On page 1 of the traffic impact study, the author actually states that the left turn entering and exiting are needed to accommodate tractor-trailer traffic and delivery of vehicles. So that was a recommendation he made to keep that the way it is. The reason he made that recommendation is that the right-hand exit only would result in a lot more traffic, tractor-trailer traffic on local roads, because most of the tractor-trailers come off of, are trying to get back to the thruway. If they have to only make a right-hand turn out of our existing lot, they'd have to go and start making U-turns or wind their way through local roads to get back to the thruway. So he thought that would be disadvantageous to the surrounding area. Thirdly, the main entrance for the building in the plans is going to be moving to Glenshaw Street. So a lot less traffic will be going in and out of that current driveway. That'll basically just be for delivery vehicles only. Also on Appendix F in the traffic impact study, he mentions the accidents that have taken place since 2017 in that vicinity. And there were 6 of them. All of them took place at the intersection of Route 303 and Glenshaw. One of them took place at the driveway. So it doesn't seem to be a safety issue making left-hand turns. And then lastly, I'd just like to point out that none of the surrounding properties have this right in, right out restriction to them currently. So we would really appreciate not having to comply with that one.
Thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Same comments as on the last several issues. I reserve the right to comment after everything presented, including anybody possibly in attendance from the community. And other than that, I will withhold all the comments at this time. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Sweeney.
My only question was asked by Mr. Young and it was answered, so I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Andrews. Turn your mic on.
I have nothing right now until I hear from the public.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mandel.
Just a question. They're still proposing a stairway in the drainage easement on the west side of the property. Can you explain the reason there? Is there any authority or permission? Does that pose a legal problem?
Okay, just in a general answer to that, anything that can be moved or taken away and not a permanent structure usually is permitted to be built on easements. So I don't think, I don't, this is a general answer to that. Maybe the engineers want to give a more specific answer.
All I could say, this is Rob Walsh, engineer for the project, is that stairwell is being used to get down to have a secondary access to the mechanical room, which is about 6 feet below the grade out there. The concern, we've recently conducted an investigation, a TV investigation, as well as test digging to verify the location of that existing storm line. And we're clear of it, doesn't interfere with the stairwell. I don't see any problem with it. So there is no interference at this point. And I don't think it'll be an issue. There'll still be room to access that drainage pipe for any repairs or any necessary work if needed.
Thank you.
Okay, is that all, Mr. Mendel?
Yeah, that's it all, and I guess they'll, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McCory?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my only concern is just how close to 303 the parking is being extended. You know, you go past the property now, it's set back a bit. You can have landscape and screening, which is kind of the intent of the 303 area, is to have everything kind of set back a little bit. And I know this is a high stress area with the other buildings to the rear towards that neighborhood, but I don't have any major issues with the extension. I'm just concerned about how close the parking lot is now going to be to 303. And I'd like to hear if anybody else has those concerns. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Bond?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public now. If anybody wishes to speak on this from the public, please state your name. I'm going to ask it again. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this application? Okay, hearing none, I have a motion to close public, please.
Motion to close public.
Mr. Mandel. Second,
I'll second that.
Mr. Sweeney.
Andrews.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, okay.
Aye.
We're going to move forward with a final on this, so I'm asking for lead agent. I think we have to be confirmed, don't we? Yes, Mr. Brenner.
Okay, on the county's statement, number 6, they say the proposed plan shall comply with the 303 overlay zone to the extent applicable. I believe we have some of the our whole concept is in a challenge to the 303 because most of the parking is in the front. With the statement, if it's applicable, I don't know if that has to be overridden or not. I need some help on this one, Rick.
Let me first of all ask Jane, what's your take? This is not in the overlay, or is it, Jane?
It is in the overlay, but they went to ZBA, right, Donald?
Yes, they did. We got all our variants.
They got the required variances.
Yes.
Mr. Brenner, can you read the applicable language from the county? I don't have it open.
The proposed plan shall comply with the Route 303 overlay zone to the extent applicable. I don't know what that means.
That's a good point. I'm not sure what that means either. I would recommend overriding it. And I guess one of the reasons could be that the ZBA has granted all the approvals that they got, and that's sufficient.
That's the only thing. I mean, the ZBA did give me all my variances, so I don't know if I need an override or not, but I just presented. I think we may need an override for that one. I don't know what if applicable means.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Probably safer to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Do I have a motion to override Rockland County Planning, March 30th letter, item number 6? And it says the proposed plan shall comply with the Rockland Route 303 overlay zone to the extent applicable. And the reason for the override is that they have received all required variances from the ZBA in respect to whatever variances are required on the property. Is that okay, Rick? Anything, or you're better at that. I'm not a lawyer. You are.
I would say, Mr. Brenner, if this is for you, if there's any other language you think would be helpful, I agree with you.
I just don't want it, I don't want it popping up, when we're all set to go to work. That's all, I didn't know that the wording is very, very wishy-washy.
If you want to just throw in any aspects of the case that you think does apply with,
I just think just to get the project moving, I think it would be, I'm requesting that it be, exempt, from the decision, that's all, or removed from the decision.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it was my understanding that any exemptions from the 303 overlay zone had to go to the planning board. Is that correct or is that incorrect?
I'm not sure.
I think that was the enabling legislation, if I remember, when I was involved in writing that. That determination was given to the planning board. I don't know if Mr. Brenner has any recollection on that.
The planning board has approved this layout in preliminary. We haven't changed the layout.
Right.
I know.
The planning
I
board,
think you understand my question. Is that any exemption to the overlay district is in the province of the planning board, unless that's incorrect.
that's the way we've been operating on every other one that's come before us, because all of them, it's like a negotiation. There's nobody that probably meets it 100%, that a lot of these existing
Correct.
businesses. So they meet the intent of it, whatever the intent is, so.
Right, but I think
We determine what the
determination
intent
was-
is, so that's.
That
that's
determination was left to us.
Yeah.
Unless I'm mistaken. So that would be a reason why we would then have to vote to grant this exemption. At one point, I think it was a formal vote we had to take.
I think Mr. Brenner used the word exemption loosely. This is, I don't think anyone's requesting that this be exempt from 303. They got the ZBA approval, so I don't think we should use the word exempt.
Okay. I mean, because
not really asking that this property be exempt from the 303.
We're just determining that it meets the intent of it, basically.
So let's do it. I'd like to make a motion that we override number 6 in the Rockland County Department of Planning's notes due to the fact that the applicant already received all the variances from the ZBA.
Okay, do I have a second?
And can you also say that the planning board approves of this or something to that effect?
the original
By voting, we approve it.
Yes. Okay, do I have a second? Anyone? Okay, Mr. Young, second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any opposition? Please speak up. Okay, no opposition. Okay, we're going to exempt that number 6.
Not exempt, override number 6.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Yes, we're overriding number 6. I'm sorry. Okay, so where were we? Okay, I need a motion for lead agent.
Motion for lead agent.
No.
Excuse me?
We have seeker. We're getting final.
Yeah, but do we have to reconfirm it?
Yeah, you can reaffirm the previous determination relating to secret. You could do that if you want to, yes.
It doesn't hurt. Okay, Mr. Sweeney makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Vandell. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, neg deck. Motion for neg deck. Anybody motion for neg deck? Mr. Young. Okay, second.
Second.
Mr. Vandell.
I'll second.
Mr. Chairman, you just reaffirm secret. You don't have to go through the whole process again. Since you did it before, you're just reaffirming, saying there's been no substantial change from the previous determination that you were lead agency and that there was a neg deck. So
okay.
I think the first resolution was for reaffirming secret. So that's sufficient. You don't have to do any more secret.
Okay, Mr. Young makes the motion to reconfirm CEQA. Mr. Vandell seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, can I have a motion for final with conditions?
Motion for final with conditions.
Mr. Sweeney. Okay, and the conditions are, office planning, building, zoning and planning, May 8th, Jane Slavin, 5 items. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Bruce Peters, dated April 7th, 1 item. Second letter, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, dated April 3rd, has 12 items. Rockland County Planning, dated March 20th, has a total of 8 items, but the board has overridden item number 6.
Mr. Chairman, on our Jane Slavin's letter number 2, we're requesting that we've attempted to mitigate it as best we can, but we cannot do a right. We cannot do a right in and right out at that spot.
It just says consider. I don't think it's a condition.
Okay.
It's a consideration.
Yeah. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, the intent of my comment was to draw attention to the comment by the New York State DOT
Okay,
so that you would discuss it. It's not a mandatory
okay.
comment.
And while we're on Jane's comments, you said there was 5. There's actually 9. There's a second page to that. There's 9 comments.
Okay, I lost the page somewhere. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, we did Rockland Planning, correct? March 20th with the override on item 6. Okay. Rockland County Highway, March 13th has 1. New York State Department of Transportation dated December 20th, 2019 has 3. Should we address that number 2, Jane, on their letter and also on your letter? Because I think if they're restricted to a right-hand turn only, that means they're going to shove all the traffic going south, and all those tractor trailers mostly want to go north.
I don't think you're required to override the DOT comment. That would be a legal question. Again, I just wanted to bring it to your attention, and I believe that the applicant sufficiently described the reasons why they don't think that's a good idea.
Okay. And I think that was it. Okay, is that it, Cheryl?
Yeah, so do you want New York State DOT 1, 2, and 3?
Jane, do you want to do New York State 1, 2, and 3? New York State DOT 1, 2, and 3. You want to leave that number 2 in there?
Again, that's a legal question. I don't know if you necessarily have to override it.
No, you don't have to override anyone but county planning. So you don't have to override it, but the board has to decide what they want the conditions to be. So if you want it, vote for it. If more people vote than not, you got it. So you just have to vote if you want those. It's your determination as a board.
Okay. In respect to New York State DOT, where it requires that all traffic leaving the site turn right and only enter turning right. I'll call each board member out this way. We know for sure if there's any questions. I personally feel that I think it would be a mistake that they're requiring all tractor trailers to go south on 303, and most of them want to go north to get onto the thruway. So they would have to meander around local traffic in order to make a U-turn. So that would be my suggestion. Okay. Mr. Young.
I agree.
Okay. Mr. Dell.
That's kind of a mixed one. I think eventually they're gonna put a barrier there to keep that from happening. I'd be more comfortable if they figured out another way to get out of there through, they're not going out now through Glenshaw Street, are they? Tractor trailers, because they're mentioning about the other traffic going out that way?
Well, the question is the traffic coming out of the site. The state had suggested that they may put up a right-hand turn only, which would direct all traffic south on 303, including tractor trailers. Most tractor trailers, when they leave that property or leave them full or empty, would want to go north to the thruway. Now, if they're mandated to go south, somewhere along the line, they have to turn around to the north. So I think we're creating a safety hazard and a traffic hazard by requiring that. So our question is, can we eliminate that so it would make it easier for the traffic to go either right or left, depending on their needs? That's the question to you.
I understand that, but you only have to have one fatality to the bad decision.
Well, they can turn right and have a fatality too, Mr. Dell. So I'm just trying to eliminate traffic and safety issues in the town.
I understand your motive, but making a left-hand turn, you're basically blocking off the entire highway when you're making that turn.
Okay, so you're not in favor of it.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sweeney,
I agree with the chairman.
you're in agreement?
I agree with you. I agree with
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Mr. Andrews,
I agree with you also, Mr. Chairman, because I don't think we want tractor trailers trying to find a route back north going through our little streets.
Okay.
So I agree.
okay, thank you very much. Mr. Mandel,
I agree also, same as Mr. Andrews said, we don't want these tractor trailers going on local streets.
thank you, sir. Mr. McCory,
Yeah, I agree. If we can keep the trucks out of the local neighborhoods, that'd be good. It seems like the answer to this would be a traffic control signal at that interchange. So there'll be a safe left, the cars will be stopped. But at this point in our meeting, I agree with you, Chairman, that maybe they shouldn't be required to right turn.
okay. So the voting is 6-1 in respect to not enforcing that right-hand turn only, if that's the verbiage you want to use. Rick?
Yeah, again, remember what you're doing is you're just making what the conditions are. So you don't, when you go through the DOT, you don't mention that as one of the conditions. You don't include that paragraph.
Right, I'll only pick up 1 and 3.
Yes, it'd just be 1 and 3, Sheriff.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a second on the final?
I'll make that second, Andrews.
Okay, who was that? I'm sorry.
Mr. Andrews.
Andy Andrews.
Okay, Mr. Andrews. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, none. Okay, got you final, Mr. Brenner.
Gentlemen, it was delightful tonight. I think personally you don't like my aftershave lotion.
Next time, I'm going to keep you on mute all night.
Okay. Thank you.
Take the tie
Okay.
off there, Don.
We have, everybody, we have other business, so please don't drop off yet,
Yeah, I have a couple.
board members.
Okay, I have 2 things. Let me get mine out, and then they might coincide with Ms. Slavens. Do we want to change hours? Right now, we
You
start.
want to wait till everyone else drops off first before you do this, or?
Yeah, we still have people
It's
on here.
technically still it's
Still,
technically still.
I haven't asked for
Okay.
closing.
All right.
We're
Got
not-
it.
we're
Okay.
not doing
Okay.
any-
All right.
Okay, right now we're meeting at 7:30. This was a pretty good meeting. We're done a little bit after 9. Do we want to move the hours up a little bit earlier? I know ZBA goes at 7. I don't know what the ACA board does or Hysterical does. Are they also at 7?
They're at 7:30.
Right. The
I'm
zoning
okay
board
with
is at
7 if you want.
7, and the historic board started at 7.
Okay, so do we want to do the same thing? Do we want to move our meetings up to 7? Is there anybody opposed? I'll go right down the line. Mr. Young.
7 is good for me.
Okay, Mr. Andrews,
7's good also.
Mr. Sweeney,
7 works.
Mr. Bond,
7 works.
Okay, Mr. Mandel.
7's good.
Okay, Mr. McCory.
I gotta be the naysayer, Chairman, sorry, just in my case, I work a day tour, I work till 6 in Manhattan. Could be an hour getting home, it would limit my participation if I'm running behind on schedule, just, that's my take on it. And if we're thinking about loading up June, I would hate to miss a lot of meetings, just because I'm getting off a day tour and I'm stuck in traffic on the George Washington Bridge. Right now, traffic's been great, but I don't know what the future holds.
Well, you could always come into a meeting a little bit late. That wouldn't be a problem.
And miss all the fun?
Oh, yeah. No, we're not going to stay that late for you.
Well, as long as, until New York City opens up, we're probably fine. What we're trying to accomplish is, we had 21 items going in on the agenda, be scheduled going into May. Really want to help move these projects along so that when the governor does say that our region can open up, that these applicants have their approvals in place. And obviously, even after you guys give your approval, they still have some time that and work that they have to complete before they can get their permit. Again, we're just trying to hopefully help these companies get the shovel in the ground. And with that said, I know Mr. Chairman was also going to bring up possibly adding 1 or 2 meetings to June, so we'd have 3 or 4, have 1 a week, and they'd be shorter, but we'd have more of them. This was a very good meeting, but these items were not that controversial. We have some big ones coming up, and we want to be prepared that those might be very long nights.
Mr. Dell, I didn't get to you to ask for your vote if we're going to go to 7 o'clock, but I saw you put your thumb up, so I think
Okay, well,
you're okay with it.
I'm just concerned about Mike being there. And Mike, at this time with the status, you have no problem getting here on time for a 7 o'clock meeting, or is it a problem now?
But you know what?
No.
We have Mr. Bond as an alternate. At times, some of us have missed meetings. We understand and everything else. We're trying to, like Jane is saying, we want to get rid of the backlog and to move things along. We're at 9:30 tonight. We got rid of 4 items. We could have maybe gotten 6 on or 7, if you know what I mean. If we start a half hour earlier, that gives us a little bit more time. So, we can try it at 7. If it doesn't work, we can go back to 7:30. Whatever.
Okay, I said that question
Majority of
for
us
Mike.
likes 7 o'clock.
To answer Mr. Dell's question, currently, the traffic's fine. I can't see myself the next couple meetings being hung up, unless there's a barn burner in Harlem somewhere, but I
And
can't
then
control
you
that.
won't make it anyway. You won't make
I won't
7:30.
make it anyway.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Another item I had is that, being that we have quite a few items in the backlog, do we want to add extra meetings? I know, Dane said there's one item, we're not going to discuss it, but it could be controversial, and that we could put that on its own merit and just have that one item for that night. So do we want to add extra meetings? Again, I'm going to go down and I'll start, so I don't forget you this time or lose you. Mr. Dell, what's your concern?
I think we should have extra meetings. Most of us are in the area as opposed to normal operations, but I think it obviously should be a temporary thing until we clear out the backlog. In other words, I don't want to have a procedure from here on in. So if we
Correct.
stipulate it's a temporary situation,
Until
we
we catch
understand.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McCory? Having more meetings.
Yes, if that's gonna help us have less items on the meeting, I'm all for that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sweeney? Steve, turn your mic on.
I agree in theory with having more meetings. I think it's a great idea. Just, I may have some conflicts in June for the alternate dates, just giving you an advance warning, but I will be there whenever possible.
Okay, good, good. Mr. Bond, get the paper clip out of the way.
Yeah, no, we need to get caught up, so I have no issues.
Okay, good. Mr. Mandel,
No problem. It's just one Wednesday in June. I couldn't make either.
it's not going to
Okay,
be
so
an
we're looking-
forever thing. It's just going to be until we get caught up and we get back to our normal routine.
No, that's no problem. I'm just saying there's a date, like Mr. Sweeney said, that I wouldn't be able to make it either. What dates are we talking about?
We don't know
Okay,
yet.
right now, no, actually, Mr. Chairman, I do, based on the schedule of the other land use board meetings. We're looking at June 2nd and June 16th.
It's okay by me. That's no problem.
That's in addition to the other 2 meetings that are planned.
That's correct. We'll have our regularly scheduled meetings, and then we'll add these 2 in the alternate weeks. So we'll have 4 meetings, 4 weeks in a row.
Okay? Okay. Mr. Andrews,
So what?
I'm good with it.
You're gonna do them on Tuesday nights then?
Yes, because
Okay.
every other week, Wednesday is ZBA. And every other week, Wednesday is planning board. So we'd have to shift one night over so that we don't disrupt ZBA.
I have a conflict with school board on both those nights, so that's my only issue. That starts at 7 o'clock also, the 2nd and the 16th, so.
okay.
But I'm the alternate, so. Once everybody else can make.
Are we on YouTube right now? Is this streaming? Okay. Okay, Rick, I don't think we have a reason that it has to be on YouTube.
No.
That I would just have to record it. I understand that you may be at the town board meeting, but I would just have to hit record, so we have a record of it, correct? No, you beat me to it today.
We'll blame you anyway. All right. Mr. Andrews, do you have any issues with adding the extra meetings as needed? Till we get
No,
caught
as
up?
as long as it doesn't interfere with my happy Friday night.
Me
kidding.
too. I got a bourbon night too. I don't want to interfere with Mr. Young.
I'm fine.
Okay, good. All right. That's all I have. Jane, do you have, or Cheryl, do you have anything else?
No.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, good. Oh, Mike?
Yes, would this only be for June, or does this slide into July as well? Will the 4 meetings in June be sufficient?
At this point, that's what we're hopeful for. And then we would just have the 2 meetings in July. We're trying to catch up.
All right, thank you.
We have a meeting.
Still.
Yes, 2 things. First of all, I didn't get all the plans, get the plans for Greenbush. I don't know if anybody did. But it's kind of hard to follow all the documents now that they're coming in at different times. I thought the system that we had before, that they were stapled in a group and then we could look at them clearly, was much better than what we have now, because now I virtually have none of the new documents unless I've either printed them out or gathered them together. So I would much prefer to have that system where each item has a nice stapled pack. And then while we're having a meeting, particularly like this forum, that we could then look at it, make sense of it. It's one of the reasons I didn't want to comment too much tonight, because it was hard to cross-reference.
Well, Mr. Dell, a lot of them didn't come in until after everyone picked up their packets. That's the problem. Cheryl puts them together the day of the meeting when we're in Greenbush, and she sets the table up before the meeting. So we can have them ready for you if you want to pick them up at, the end of the day of a meeting. We can make sure that they're ready.
Okay. Because I went there today, there was nothing out there for planning board or anything else, and I picked up my packet last week. But if it was done
But we
that
wouldn't have
way, I
put it-
think that would be a lot
Yeah.
easier.
That's fine. Now that we know that that's what you want, if any of the members want to pick up hard packets the day of the meeting, we can facilitate that, but we just need to know so that we can leave the copies outside.
Yeah, no problem.
Bob, just to say something, is that Cheryl got a letter from, on Greenbush, I think it was on Greenbush, no, it was on, West Lewis. She got it at 5:30 tonight, and she sent it out. So,
Well,
she does that just to keep everybody informed. So, you know, we have to pull it off our computers, print it up, or whatever we have to do to get the information.
now I understand, but it used to be, I thought there was a legal requirement that it have to be in like a day or so before, so that there wouldn't be this type of problem. Or at least that was a procedural thing that was done.
We gotta
The
remember,
public
right
can
now,
comment.
We're tripping over our own feet now to get this thing straightened out. I think once
It's
we get
unusual time.
it straightened out,
Unusual
it will
time.
come. That's what I, all I can say.
We are pushing people to make sure that, but this is all new for everybody, and we're trying to get the applicants to make sure that the stuff is getting in. The letter that was received tonight was from a neighbor, and we have to accept that in. We can't not accept that.
No, I understand, but for applicants or something, because.
We
there's so
will,
many
we will
things to
notify,
get.
we will notify again the applicants and the consultants that we need stuff by a certain time. And as I'm sure everybody understands, even the consultants at this point are working at limited staffing. They're working from home. These businesses are not, they're not working in their offices. They're all working from home. So hopefully, once we start to
Understood.
catch up and everybody knows when everything's assigned, it'll help with the outside agencies.
Okay, but also too, we obviously have to have our due diligence to take. Much easier if we get them in a time than that. Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? Cheryl or Jane, you don't have any other business or anything other business? Well,
Our
if not,
next meeting,
okay, if
the
not,
next meeting
can I have
is
a motion?
7 or 7:30. We have another May meeting, right? Is it 7 or 7:30?
Next meeting, I believe, is at 7.
7, okay.
And that's going to be on the 27th?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a motion to meet, adjourn the meeting?
Your minutes, you gotta vote on the minutes from last meeting.
I wasn't at the,
There
Yep.
weren't any minutes because both
There weren't any.
items were continued.
all right. So do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mandel makes a motion. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Who's that?
Who's that?
Andy.
Andy.
Andrew.
Oh, thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Good job, guys.
All right.
See ya.
Thank you.
Good job, everyone.
Good
Right.
Good
job.
night.
Good job.
Night.
One down.
Everybody will get a
This conference is no
critique in the mail.
longer being recorded.